everybody, this is Adam from realworldworship.org here, and talking again about my Kemper. And what I wanted to talk about real quick specifically is why I chose the Kemper over the Helix. I have not had the pleasure or opportunity to play through a fractal axe effect. I think they look and sound great, so nothing against them. I just haven't had the opportunity. I had the Helix first. I picked up a Helix and really liked it. Then I had the opportunity to get a Kemper, and I kind of decided, all right, I'm going to take a flyer, and what'll happen is I'm going to pick the one I like better and sell the Helix if I like the Kemper better, or the Kemper I bought new so I could return it. And that was what I went with. And I kept the Kemper. It was real quick. It was not a long thought process. It was I knew right away. And here's why I knew right away. The biggest thing is the amplifier. Your number one source, point of tone, like the biggest influencer on your tone is your amplifier. If you're using a traditional analog guitar pedal board amplifier setup, the thing that will have the absolute largest effect on your tone is your amplifier. And if you're using, it doesn't matter. You could be using the nicest guitar, into the nicest effects pedals. You could be using like a Fender Custom Shop or a TMG or a Danacaster or a Duesenberg or a Gibson, ES335, something. It doesn't matter. And you could be running that into a Kemper, into a Cali 76, into the nicest effects pedals possible. And then if you run it into a Line 6 Spider, it's still going to sound, right? Like it's still going to sound like a guitar setup being run through a Line 6 Spider. It's not going to change that. So your amp's the most important thing. And there are some good amp models within the Helix. It's not even close, though, how much better the amps on the Kemper sound. But not just that. How much more options you have, because on the Helix you just have whatever they give you. Here's our Vox model. Here is our Fender model. Here is our Marshall model. Here is our Bogner or Diesel model for like the metal players. But that's it, right? Like here are our models, and that's it. That's all there is. It's limitless with the Kemper. It's only really dependent on somebody profiling an amp. I don't have a good, what I would say is a good Silvertone amp profile, because nobody has done that yet. But somebody can, and at some point somebody will. I've been complaining that there's no Milkman profile, but somebody will at some point. So there are options, and I have a really nice tube amplifier. And the first thing I did was I put that profile on my Kemper to compare, and it's not, like I've said in another video, in the room that amp sounds better, but plugged in to the system front of house, it's not a huge difference. So for me, the biggest thing was the amp, the sound, the availability, the options. All of that was the big thing for me over the Helix. The second thing is compression, and I don't mean like a compression pedal, because the Helix is way better. The compression models on the Helix, the LA Studio compressor, the Kinky Comp, the Deluxe Comp, the Red Comp, they are all fantastic. Love them. In fact, I miss them. I think they are great sounding compressors. And the compression stomp options on the Kemper are really lacking. What I mean by compression is this. Let me turn the delays and the mods off. Okay, so I'm just playing guitar here. And if you're just finger picking like this, it's not a huge difference between the Helix and the Kemper. But then if you really start to dig in and drive, the Helix started to compress in a way that I found unmusical. And the Kemper didn't. The Kemper responded like an amplifier. For my playing, I am not like a huge lead player, again, I am the world's okayest guitar player, so I can do a lead line. I can do a little basic lead line, that's fine. But a lot of what I do is a mixture between strumming and I let stuff ring out. But then, like, when a song's getting really, really big and really going, and, you know, that's a sound that I kind of employ. And so that compression was a big deal. So what I would say is, like, if you're thinking about like Helix versus Kemper, and you're mostly just a lead line player, you know. The Helix, Kemper, it's all going to be the same. If you're more of a rhythm player or you really dig in, the Kemper is the clear choice. The last thing is pedal board. The Helix has a lot more options as far as like putting extra effects in. So like if you love everything but you have an analog delay that you really want to run with the Helix, or a compressor or something, you can do that. And you can then program it. I'm going to have the Helix turn on this effects loop and it's running out to that analog pedal. You can do that with the Kemper too. Not as many options or routing options, but you can do it. But the Kemper, because it's an amp first, it's not an effects unit first, which is what the Helix is. It's an effects unit that has amp modeling. The Kemper is an amplifier that also has some onboard effects. So even though there are less routing options like there are on the Helix, it's actually better to use with your pedal board. It's ready to just plug your pedal board in the front like you would with a normal amplifier, or use the 4-cable method if you're wanting to put your delays and reverbs in after the front end. But whatever you want to do, I really feel like it's really meant, because it's really an amplifier. It will take, and you can kind of integrate it better. So you don't have to buy this as a pedal replacement. You can just buy this as an amplifier, and say, yeah, I'm going to spend the money on a Kemper. The same as if you were going to buy like a Morgan or a Milkman or a Benson or any of the really good, even like a more expensive, like a Vox hand-wired. Well, for basically the money you buy those, you get those sounds, plus you get like 1,000 other sounds. So the last thing for me was just that, like, if I wanted to keep a pedal board, I felt like I could do that better than with the Helix, where I would have had to buy a bigger pedal board and integrate the Helix into my pedal board, if that makes sense. That's not going to be an issue for a lot of people. It was just an issue for me. My personal opinion is that for people that tend to be more lead players, Helix is a great option. And if you are want a lot more like rhythm options, if you just want a lot more amp sounds, Kemper's the way to go. I have a friend that chose the Helix instead, and that worked for him, and I'm not knocking anybody. This is just where my decision-making process come from. So hopefully that is helpful to somebody, and you guys have a great day.